Hello, good evening. Welcome to Meta School's 7th virtual talk show. And this evening's topic is the magic formula, how to prepare for your dream university. I am Richa Susanto from Meta School, Meta Elementary School, as you might know, and I will be your host for today's event. First, I would like to welcome our school board. The head of the school board, Ibu Luciana, is here with us this evening. Welcome, Ibu Luciana. Hello.
Hello, Miss Richa.
Hi, Ibu Luciana. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Miss.
And then I would like to also welcome our school board deputy, Mr. Frankie. Hello, Mr. Frankie.
Hello, Miss Richa.
Hi.
Hi, how are you? Fine.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you. And I would like to welcome the Meta School principals, teachers, parents, students, and all participants in the Zoom meeting room, as well as those viewing us live on YouTube. And I would like to welcome our very special speaker today, Mrs. Caroline Timon. Thank you very much for being with us this evening.
Good evening.
Hello,
it's a pleasure being here.
Thank you, Ms. Caroline. So before we start, I would like to remind you of some rules for the show. Please have your audio stay muted. However, you may choose to set your camera to on. We would appreciate it if you remain considerate at all times so that we can experience a smooth and seamless event. We would thank you for your cooperation. Then the talk show will be opened by a welcome speech by the head of our school board, Ibu Luciana. So to Ibu Luciana, the podium is yours.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Can you hear my voice, Miss?
Yes, I can.
Okay. I welcome the executive board member of Yayasan Pendidikan Meta, our speaker, Mrs. Caroline Timon, the participants of Meta School virtual talk show, and all viewing the talk show. Good evening, Suki Hontu. May all be healthy and well. This is the 7th virtual talk show Meta School is hosting, and this evening's topic is the magic formula, how to prepare for your dream university. Our speaker today is someone who has had years of experience as an education consultant. She's been providing guidance and for students on how to get into world's top universities. Students who have successfully equipped themselves with qualifications, skills, and experiences may see themselves pursuing higher education abroad. They may see this as a way to reach their dreams. Funding is one thing, but it also takes a good strategy, readiness, and maturity to get into top universities. Many Indonesian students have made their way to their dream campus, and those in high school, it is now your turn. There's a quote saying, "A dream without a goal is a wish. A goal without a plan is just a dream." There's another one by Benjamin Franklin says, "By failing to plan, you are planning to fail." So let's this evening session light the spark and inspire us all. Let's learn as much as we can from our speaker, ask as many questions, and get your wonders answered. The answer shall help us plan, and those plans shall lead us to success. I, on behalf of Yayasan Pendidikan Meta, would like to send my highest appreciation to Mrs. Caroline Timon for her time and for sharing her expertise with us. I'm sure that this evening session will be inspiring and greatly motivational. For at the end, we shall find out the magic formula to prepare for our dream university. Have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ibu Luciana, for the very warm welcome. Now I will give you all a brief introduction on who our speaker is. So, Mr. Arif, share the slide, please. Okay, so this is Miss Caroline Timon. Okay, Miss Caroline Timon is a professional education consultant with 17 years of experience for university admission to the US, UK, Canada, Australia, Singapore, Hong Kong, and China. She has been honored with being selected as a certified professional member of the Independent Educational Consultant Association. As a longtime resident of Indonesia since 1989 and raising her children there, she understands the complexities of Indonesian schools and students to find world-class universities that are the best fit for each individual student. Thank you. So this evening, Miss Caroline Timon will be talking about the magic formula, how to prepare for your dream university. I love the choice of words here. It's making me think of a combination of potions, and in this case, a series of action plans. And since this is magical, I imagine that not many are aware of the surprising effect this combination will result in. Well then, without further ado, everyone, please welcome Miss Caroline Timon. Hello, Miss Caroline, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Let me start the program.
Yes, yes, please.
So thank you all for that very warm welcome. It's a pleasure being here. I can't think of anything better than to spend the evening talking about education with students and families. I love education. I love working with students. And I particularly love helping students find their place for education to get the best skills possible so that they can come back to Indonesia and get their most fulfilling careers. So it is a long journey. However, tonight I want to share with you the magic formula because it really does come down to just 5 simple steps that I will elaborate on. But to get started, there are 3 most important questions to start your journey. What country are you interested in? What university and what area of study? So this is where you start your journey. It's very much like saying, well, I want to go on vacation. What country do I want to visit? What sites do I want to see? What do I want to learn from the trip? And so if you look at it as a type of journey, and it is quite a long journey and a lot of steps to take, this is your starting point. Bear with me, eventually I'll get to the magic formula. So in Indonesia, you're quite fortunate because of the geographic location. You have world choices You can stay in Indonesia. You can go to Australia. You can take a short flight and go to Singapore. You can go a little further north and go to Hong Kong. You can go to China. You can go across continents to the UK. You can go to North America, to Canada, or the US. So the world is really full of options for you. In Indonesia, there are quite a bit of world-class universities. There are lots of choices, and I do work with a lot of students that choose to stay in Indonesia. They get their undergraduate education, and then they come to me. They want to do a master's degree abroad. So we have UI, we have Institute of Technology in Bandung, Trisakti. When I start working with my Indonesian families, I always ask the parents, where did you go to school? And it's a mix. Some of them stayed in Indonesia, some went to Australia, some went to Canada, some went to the UK, some went to the US. So there are definitely reasons why you would want to stay in Indonesia, particularly if you want to practice law or medicine. I always encourage students to stay in Indonesia because those careers are very well prepared by UI. However, we know there are other choices. However, if you do stay in Indonesia, I want to call your attention to this new program, Bangkit. It is, as many of you know, one of the founders of Gojek was appointed to be the Minister of Education in Indonesia a couple years ago. And what I understand about his appointment by Jokowi is that Jokowi wanted Nadiem to try to bring more computer science to Indonesia. And this program, I consider kind of Nadiem's signature program. He managed to get Google, Traveloka, Tokopedia, and Gojek to all collaborate to produce this, to administer this program to 3,000 university students in Indonesia every year. And you do get a computer science certificate that will give you the critical skills to work at companies like these. So I want all of you to go do an internet search for Bangkit, because I was really excited when I heard about this program. It's a wonderful way to get the computer science skills, which are essential for no matter what you're going to do. So let's carry on. You decide you're not going to stay in Indonesia for various reasons. You want to go to Australia. The advantages are it is close to Indonesia. It does offer a world-class education. The tuition is often less expensive than other countries. It has a very straightforward application process. You fill out the application, you submit your transcript. Some notable schools there: New South Wales, Monash, University of Melbourne, but there are many, many of them. They're not just limited to these three. Singapore, another advantage, it's close to Indonesia. It also offers world-class education. For the past year during COVID, it has been conducting classes in person. You're not doing Zoom classes. You have really good employment prospects in Singapore. I have one of my families, the son went to Nanyang Technological Institute, and now he is working at basically a Fortune 500 company in Singapore. Again, the application process is quite straightforward, just the application and transcript. In US has always been the top university. Don't overlook the collaboration between Yale from America and US. And then, as I mentioned, Nanyang and the Singapore Management University. Hong Kong and China have always been popular among students in Indonesia. A lot of my students want their education to be grounded in Asia. They see their whole future careers being with other countries or companies or businesses or partnerships or organizations in Asia. And they want to stay in Asia and get their education. Of course, if you go to China, there's an opportunity to become fluent in Mandarin. So some of the notable universities in Hong Kong and China are the Hong Kong University, NYU Shanghai, so that's American and Chinese venture. Tsinghua has always been world-renowned university, as well as Peking University. But many others too. I don't mean to just, I'm just highlighting a few of the top universities for each school, each country. Canada, there are more than 900 universities, lots of choices. In Canada, what's important? Grades. They basically consider your admission based on your grades. Grades meaning GPA. GPA is grade point average. And later in this presentation, I'll explain what grade point average is. A lot of my students don't know what it is. They know it's something important, but they don't know what it is. They don't know how to calculate it, but I will show you that later. And again, it's just fill out the application and submit your transcript. Top universities in Canada, of course, in McGill, University of British Columbia, and University of Toronto. Then we move on to the UK. So in the UK, we're talking about using different terminology. So in the UK, we refer to courses. And the course in the UK refers to the major that you're going to be studied. In America, we talk about majors. What are you going to major in? What are you going to study? In the UK, it's what is your course? Now, a really big distinguishing feature about education in the UK is that you apply for one course and you study only that one area. So if you're going to apply for chemistry, you're going to study chemistry. What if you get into chemistry for 1 year and you decide you don't want to do chemistry? You don't have any way out. You are locked into chemistry. If you want to change, you have to withdraw and apply again. So that is something to be sure to pay attention to in the UK. That you have, most students going to the UK, they do have one single area of study that they're most interested in. And that's what they prepare for. If you look at the UK style of education, you do the O levels in grades 9 and 10. Those are like 10 subjects. From those 10 subjects for the O levels, then you narrow those down to the A levels, which are 4 subjects. From the A levels, from your 4 subjects, you choose one to go to university. And so for the UK, it's very much of a funneling process down to one area. You can get your degree in as little as 3 years. Sometimes you can add an additional year for an internship or an advanced master's degree. At this point, every university is very transparent about the grades that are required for every admission for every country. So let's say, for instance, you're interested in Imperial. You can go to the Imperial website and you can look at admissions and you can search by country. So in our case, we would search for Indonesia, general requirements for admission, Indonesia, and it will list every type of education available in Indonesia. So if you're doing the national curriculum, it will tell you what you need. If you're doing IB, it will tell you what grades you need, what scores you need. If you're doing AP, it will tell you what your AP exam score should be. Any variety of the curriculum offered by schools in Indonesia will be very transparent on that website. So there's no doubt about choosing a school and knowing if you're qualified or not. And then once you're admitted, then they will say, okay, this offer of admission is conditional upon you getting 2 scores of 7 for the IB and 1 score of 6 for physics, chemistry, and math, for example. So they're very transparent. Employment opportunities are pretty abundant in the UK if you want to stay after you graduate and get some work experience. You use the UCAS and you're limited to applying for 5 schools. So we all know some of the famous schools of London: Cambridge, Oxford, Imperial, King's, London School of Economics, and UCL. But again, there are hundreds of schools in the UK. Now we're on to the US. Now it starts to get complicated because there's so many choices. So let's say you have chosen you want to go to the US. Now you need to choose, okay, what school? You have more than 3,000 schools to look at. You have hundreds of majors. Even if you decide on one major and you start it, you can change that major at any time. Let's say you do your first 2 years in engineering and you decide, no, I don't want to do engineering. It's applied math I really want to do. You can change your major. You may have to spend a little bit more time completing all the requirements, but at any time you have complete flexibility. As well as you can do dual degrees. You can get a degree in business and a degree in engineering at the same time. You're going to have to work twice as hard, but it's possible. You can do double majors. You can major in business and economics. You can do a major and minors. You can do, say, a major in international relations, Mandarin, and political science. So there are any number of combinations, as well as numerous schools and lots of academic areas to choose from, which makes it kind of confusing, which is why when I start working with students, I operate from the starting point is passion. What do you, if I say, if you're going to prioritize your academic subjects, what's number one you love the most? What's number two? What's number three? Some students go on and they list 7, some are only 2. Okay. So then we focus on what students tell me now when they're in high school that they really like the most, because that's usually a pretty good indicator of where you're going to go in terms of your university degree, what you're going to study. And we look at what careers that can apply to. And this is the point when I'm working with students. And it really becomes interesting. So they tell me, well, I really love geology the most. But they said, but I don't know what I can do with that. And I said, stop and look where you are. You are in Indonesia, a country rich in natural resources. There's oil, there's gas, there's gold, copper, silver. All of that requires geology. And all the world's multinational companies are operating there and they want that expertise. So you more or less have a gold mine if you're interested in something like geology. But of course, business, economics, psychology, history, engineering, law, medicine. So many, in a huge economy with a population like Indonesia and the economy growing, there's so many opportunities. So you figure out what it is you're most interested in studying, because you are going to university for 4 years. You are going to have to study something for 4 years. So I always tell students, pick something you really like, and let's see how that will eventually go into your career. So for the US, you use what's called the Common Application. I'll show you more about that in a minute. Keep in mind deadlines for the US. There's what's called early, that is November 1. So if there are any seniors participating in tonight's webinar, keep in mind the first deadline, which is early, is November 1. And then there's another deadline, which is called regular, which is anywhere from January 1 to February. Okay, now bear with me, we're still going to get to the magic formula. I need to explain more about the American education that students are always saying, like community college, university, I'm so lost. What is it? What are these? So let's do a little bit of a tutorial here about what these are and how they differ. So the first one is community college. You graduate from high school. let's say you're not quite ready for university. So community college would be a good bridge. You go there and you get what is called a 2-year associate degree. So let's say you want to major in computer science, but you're not ready to go to university for computer science because it's extremely competitive to be admitted. So you go to, and let's say your school in Indonesia maybe didn't give you all of the computer science background that you need. So let's say you choose community college. And there are a lot of really good ones in California and the state of Washington. So you go to community college, you declare your major as computer science. So you, from day one, you start taking all the prerequisites for a degree in computer science. So for 2 years at community college, you're taking the computer science classes that you need for your 4-year degree. After 2 years, you finished all the prerequisites, then you transfer to a school for another 2 years to get the 4 years bachelor's degree. So a lot of people misunderstand this. They think it's 2 years here plus another 4 years. No, it's two years at community college and then 2 years when you transfer. So 2 plus 2 to get your 4-year degree. So let's say you finish your 2-year associate degree and you're ready to transfer. Then you can go to what's called a college or a university. The only difference between a college and a university is size and the degrees that they offer. A college is often a very small school that offers only bachelor degrees. And that's why the college enrollment is smaller, because there are only students there working on bachelor degrees. Whereas a university will offer, they're much larger. They'll offer a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and PhDs. So your student body will essentially be 3 times as big at a university. So just think in terms of college is small, university is large. Now, if you're already thinking, well, I like a small school, then you should look at colleges. Or, oh no, I want a really big university. I want as big as they come. Then look for a university. Now, here's something important that I want to highlight is a lot of students in Indonesia complete the IGCSE in grade 10, and they don't want to stay in high school. They want to go on to community college, more or less to jumpstart their university degree. You can do that, but beware. Beware. Most schools in America now require a high school diploma. So let's say 10 years ago, a lot of students in Indonesia figured out that, hey, after I get my IGCSE in grade 10, I can go to community college and I can start college for 2 years. And then I can do 2 years of university and I can get back to Indonesia right away at age 20, right? But over time, and it has worked successfully for a lot of students, but unfortunately, a lot of the universities where these community college students were matriculating to were discovering that the students were not mature enough academically to do the university level work. And so now, be very vigilant about this. That most schools in America now require a high school diploma. So what I'm saying is most colleges or universities, if you're going to transfer there from community college, they want to see that you did stay in your high school and you did get a high school diploma. So there are still some students that will leave after grade 10, but their choices for when they transfer to university are going to be more limited. Still, that might be an attractive option for some students. But I don't want them to leave after IGCSE, go to community college, and then they find out, oh no, I really wanted to go to Cornell and it requires a high school diploma. I can't go. Now, the other clarification I want to make is what's the difference between state, public, and private institutions? So let's start with California state universities. So it's the name state gives it away that it is publicly funded by the government in California. The difference between the California State University and University of California is the type of education that they offer. So California State, University of California, they're both publicly funded. But the state schools are more like a practical application of study without research. So it's a very narrow, I want to learn accounting and that's all I want to know. Or I want to study physics and that's all I want to know. Or I want to study actuarial science and that's all I want to know. Then the California State University would be fine. There are 23 campuses to choose from. And note that the state schools in California only offer a bachelor degree. Now, if we move on to the University of California, there are 10 campuses, and they're pretty popular in Indonesia. UC Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, UC Santa Barbara, UC Davis, UC Irvine, UC Riverside, UC Merced. Now, what you're going to get there is the education is going to provide you with a lot of research and a lot of theory-based learning. And this is all going to be cutting edge education. So if you want to know what is cutting edge and what's the next big thing for computer science, or the next big thing for economics, or the next big thing in business analytics or data analytics, you would want to go to a university where your education is going to be based upon research and theory-based learning. And then again, a difference in size, because the university will offer bachelor's, master's, and PhDs. Now, for instance, now Stanford University, also in the state of California, but it's private. That means that Stanford University does not get any money from the government. It's all privately funded by the tuition and by endowments. Endowments means I went to school there, I give them a donation. And they are quite well endowed, so they don't need any public funding. And again, note the word university. That means it's going to be offering a bachelor, master's, and PhD degrees. So I hope that clears up a lot of confusion about all the choices in America about public, private, state, community college, university. But I know there'll always be a lot of questions about it because it is a lot to try to understand. Okay, so let's say you've chosen the country or countries of study. And the reason I say countries is because a lot of my students, they will apply to the US, the UK, China, for instance, or the US, UK, and Australia, or the US, UK, and Singapore. And because applying is no guarantee of what you're going to get. And so they like to hedge. So I'm going to apply to the US, I'm going to apply to the UK, and I'm going to apply to Singapore, and I'm going to see what schools I get, and then I'll decide where I'm going to go. So as admissions becomes more competitive, I see more students choosing more than one country. So they're spreading out their options. Okay, so let's say you've chosen a country or countries, and you've looked at schools and you've chosen some schools that are of interest to you, and you've listed your academic interests. Okay, that's a lot of work to get to that point, but there's still more to get to the finish line, a lot more. Now we get to the magic formula. Here it is. Your admission will depend on your grades. Number one, by far what grades you have. Number two, the SAT or ACT scores. And while you probably have heard a lot about, oh, they're optional, they're not needed anymore, do not kid yourself, they're more important than ever. Your grades and your SAT or ACT scores will determine if you're academically qualified to attend the university that you're interested in. After universities look at the grades and the SAT scores, then they're going to look at activities. What activities have you been doing? And I'll go into more explanation about that. After they see your academic performance and what your activities are, what you've been passionate about, then they want to read essays about you to get to know you. And then they look for teacher recommendations so that the impression that they get from the application is also echoed by your teachers. Okay, that's the magic formula. Now it gets difficult. The qualifications will vary a lot. Okay, so let's say you need a vehicle to get somewhere. You need a vehicle to get from your house to your school. Okay, do you have the means to get a G-Wagon? Or do you have the means that you need to ride to school on a bike? There's such a wide variety of schools in America with such a wide variety of qualifications. And this is where students have to be extremely careful about selecting schools that match their qualifications, right? I'm not going to go try to buy a G-Wagon if I don't have the means to buy it. I'm going to go look at a bike because that's what I have. And a bike will get me to my destination. So I just use these two as two very, very different examples because variations can, and the qualifications can vary by that much based on the type of school. Okay, so for instance, let's take Harvard and look at some figures here. Everybody loves Harvard. Everybody wants to go to Harvard. Last year, Harvard got 57,786 applications, of which they admitted 2,320, a 4.6% chance. And every year that keeps going lower. UCLA, on the other hand, got 139,000 applications, admitted 15,000 students. And so that you had a 10% chance. I could go on and on and on about every school, about the number of applications, how many were admitted, and what the admission rate is. And it's something to really pay attention to, because if you know you only have this small of a chance, it means you need to apply to more variety of universities to make sure that you do have the qualifications that matches one. So the magic formula number one are grades. Students are always surprised that schools look at grades for all 4 years of high school. Yes, they're looking at grades 9, 10, 11, and 12. Grade 11 will be the most important year because by then you're doing IB, A-levels, AP, or the national curriculum. Grades 11 and 12 are always going to be the higher level classes, which are preparing you for university. So grade 11 will be the most important because it is a full year of college level classes. And how did you do? Did you get all A's? Did you get all B's? Did you get all C's? What did you get? And then they take your grades for grades 9, 10, 11, 12, and they come up with a GPA. Okay, so now here's where I'm going to explain what GPA is, because every school you apply to in America is going to calculate your GPA. Whether your school calculates a GPA or not, universities in America, or schools, or colleges, whatever, community colleges, they'll look at your transcript and look at your grades for grades 9, 10, 11, 12, and come up with a GPA. So how's that calculated? So let's say you got straight A's. So every A is equal to 4 points. So you take 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, and you get 24, and you divide by the 6 classes that you have a 4.0 GPA. Similarly, if you have a B, that's equal to 3. So 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3 plus 3. You have 18 divided by your 6 classes, you have a 3.0. If you had A's and B's, you'd probably get anywhere from 3.0 to 4.0. If you have all C's, C's are equal to 2, then you would get a 2.0. So if you're curious, if you go online and you look and you see, oh, a school wants GPA whatever, and you're curious what your GPA is, if it matches, I hope this is a little bit of a tutorial on showing you how to calculate it. I get a lot of calls from students. How do I calculate my GPA? It's quite simple. It's a simple calculation, and I guess if you searched online, again, I'm always asking internet questions and I get my answers. So you can always go to internet and ask how to calculate a GPA. Okay, next, SAT and ACT. So some schools still require the SAT or ACT. Georgia Tech, for instance, made a big announcement that yes, they are requiring SAT or ACT. And even some schools in the UK. If you remember, I was pointing out, if you're interested in seeing if you're qualified for a school in the UK, you can go to that school's website. You can search general education requirements for Indonesia, and it will show every curriculum that's available in Indonesia that they know of. And they may even say, we want an ACT of 32, or we want an SAT of 1400. So even some schools in the UK will use SAT or ACT for international students. Right? And I get the question all the time, oh, I want to go to the UK, but I haven't done the IB. Mind you, the UK recognizes educations from all over the world, and not every student in the world was doing IB. So whatever education you are doing in your home country, the UK will recognize it. You don't have to do the IB to go to the UK. Okay, most schools in the US are saying that SAT and ACT are optional. And before COVID, every school required the SAT or ACT. Due to COVID, when a lot of test centers closed and students were not able to take the test, last year's schools said they're not required, they're optional. Or if you do have it, then it's optional, you can submit it. This year, most schools are saying that, again, they're optional. So if you're a senior and you have the SAT or ACT, you can submit it if it's a high score, or don't submit it. Most schools adopted a policy for 2 years, that was last year and this year, that they were going to be test optional. And after this new cycle coming up of admissions, the schools are going to go back and review, should we keep it optional or should we go back to requiring it? And I predict that there will be a mix of schools. Like Georgia Tech has already decided, yes, we have to have them. I think going forward, there will be like some schools that say, yes, you have to have them. Other schools are going to say, no, it's optional. But I believe, looking at my students last year that were admitted and submitted very high scores, I believe high scores are still going to help you get an offer of admission. Why? If you have a perfect score of SAT, that's telling that university, look, my reading, my English, my writing, and my math skills are perfect. So they know you have the skills to come to university and do university level work. So you can submit the SAT or the ACT, either one. A lot of times I get, oh, I can't do the ACT, schools won't admit it. They don't care. There are 2 tests, ACT and SAT. Universities don't care which one you submit. They're both testing your skills in reading, English, writing, and math to see at what level are they for university level work. So you have your grades, you have your SAT and ACT, so a school will look at those numbers and determine, are you academically qualified to do their level of college level work? Then they want to know activities. Why are activities important? For American school, they want to see that when you left the classroom, how did you continue your education? You walk out of the classroom when we used to attend school, or you finished your Zoom classes. What do? You have free time. You're only in class for about 30% of your time. What do you do with the other 60% of your time after you finish your homework and study? What do you do? How do you continue to learn? And when you're out there in the world looking around, what global grand challenges have you become aware of? So there are 12, 13 identified global grand challenges. And if you go on internet and you search global grand challenges, you'll come up with some websites that will explain what they are. The United Nations came up with Sustainable Development Goals. Those are also considered the global grand challenges. And every country has these global grand challenges, but to different degrees. Like for instance, energy. Where is the sustainable energy going to come? Education. As we know, there are different levels of education in different countries in the world. So there are a lot more. If you go look at the global grand challenges, I say every student should identify at least one based on your passion and become aware of it and see what you can do for your as an activity to add value to your community, because the world's only going to get better if we solve some of these global grand challenges, or at least work toward trying to solve some of them. So like in the area of education, if we work toward providing education for more citizens in the world, people will be more educated. If we work toward trying to find new energy of sources, we'll have a sustainable source of energy so economies can keep growing. Food, if we work toward new advancements in technology and food, we'll have enough food supply to feed a growing population. So these become really exciting to work with students when they identify what global grand challenge that they're really interested in. And we start doing activities to work on those. And activities can be anything you're passionate about. You might be a real jock and you just love to do sports. You might be an artist if you have really great artistic talent. You might love music, dance. Math, a lot of my students love math, and there's so many different areas today that you can go into math, and they do math competitions. We're becoming very much of a number world. People like numbers because it gives them confidence to make decisions. So we're seeing a lot of growth in data science, business analytics, data analytics, applied math, and a lot of growth in that area. And a lot you can do when you're in high school. Science could be STEM, S-T-E-M, science, technology, engineering, and math. A lot of new technology is coming out of STEM, and it's creating new companies and new jobs and employment. Computer science just grows by the day. I tell all my families now with young children, it's no longer important just to teach your children how to read. You also have to teach them essential computer skills. Everything you're going to do at university is going to be powered by this computer. And the more you know how to operate it, the more powerful you're going to get results. Even majors like psychology, you've got to know how to do some coding, to write programs, to run through all of your research. So some students are like, nah, I'm not interested. But once they get to university, they see it, and it's required by a lot of classes that they're taking. And there are so many jobs in computer science. So at different levels, everybody needs a degree, some degree of proficiency in computer science. What they're working on now is making even better algorithms for internet searches. I read a really interesting article last week about teams working toward that. And it was like, wow, I thought I was already getting really good searches for my internet, but apparently we're still in the dark ages. There's a lot more that those algorithms should be giving me when I do an internet search. And sometimes when I do an internet search and I don't find what I want, I'll just alter a couple words, but apparently those algorithms could get a lot smarter. We're just in the dark ages about it. So that's a really exciting area to go into. And it's something that you're always going to have to keep learning because technology is always growing and improving. You might be really a gifted leader, just a natural born leader. People gravitate toward you. You know how to motivate people. You might be a great debater. You might just love doing community service and helping others. So your activities can be whatever you're passionate about. Keep that word passion. And I believe everybody has that. From a young age, everybody has something that they're really interested in. A lot of my boys, sometimes when I start working, they go, I don't know. And the reason they don't know is because all they've ever done is play video games. And so for the boys, it gets a little more challenging to find out what they're passionate about because we've got to get them off the video games. Okay, then, and we get to essays. Magic formula, number 4, essays. The UK asks for a personal statement. On the UCAS application, the US asks for a personal essay on the Common App. I underline statement and essay because these are very different. They don't sound the same. They don't even look the same. You wouldn't even, if a student, the same student wrote a personal statement and also for the UK and wrote a personal essay for the US, you wouldn't even know it's the same student actually. Personal statement, that for the UK is all about what do you want to major in? How did you arrive at that decision? How did you prepare academically? What activities did you do to demonstrate interest in that major? And what other qualifications do you have? It's all about the major. But again, I'm not using the correct terminology for the UK. It's not major, it's the course. What course are you applying to for the UK? That's all that personal statement is about. Whereas the US takes a completely different approach. And the personal essay, they want to know all about the person. Who is this person? What matters to you? What value have you added to the lives of others? It's like meeting somebody for the first time and thinking, well, I really like that person. So interesting. Let's invite that person to come and be a member of our community. We really like them. So very different approaches. And if you're applying to the UK and US, do not use the same essay. They have to be different. And then finally, recommendations. So for the US, teacher recommendations are required. Why? One admission official at the school you apply to will read your application. They'll know your GPA, what classes you took, what activities you did, and you as a person. And they decide, wow, I really like this person. I really want to admit them. But they look to the teachers to make sure that your teachers are also saying wonderful things about you to confirm what the admission official at the university got from reading the application. So usually recommendations are subject specific. I mean, it makes sense. If you're going to major in math, submit a math recommendation. If you're majoring in math, you know, it'd be kind of strange. Why are you submitting a recommendation for Mandarin? You know, but my students say, oh, my Mandarin teacher loves you. I said, but it's not relevant. Yeah, it loves you, but you're applying for math. You have to submit a math recommendation. And then how your teacher ranks you, this is the ranking. These are the traits that American universities think are important for you to demonstrate. And you can't see it on the screen, but this is outstanding top 1%, and hidden behind over here is one of the few I've ever encountered 1%. So if you want to take a screenshot, these are all the traits that American universities want to see in students to make a dynamic learning experience in the classroom, in the dorm, and on the campus. So there it is, the magic formula. it comes down to these 5 areas, but it takes years of hard work, years. I mean, when you start learning to walk, and when you start exploring your world, and you start reading, and you start learning computer science, and you start learning math. Up to grade 3, you're learning to read. After grade 3, you're reading to learn. And don't think for even 1 minute that your homework or test is not important. It's all important because it's cumulative, right? What you learn this year in grade 9 is going to be important for what you do in grade 10. What you do in grade 10 is going to be important for grade 11. What you do in grade 11 is going to be important for grade 12. And what you do for your entire lifetime education is going to determine what university you go to and what level of study you're going to undertake and what degree you're going to get. I want to talk briefly just about scholarships for international students at American schools and most schools all over the world. They're very limited. You can check the websites of the specific schools to see if aid is available. For US schools, scholarships are sometimes offered to students based on merit. And this is nothing that you apply for. It's after you submitted an application, the school might admit you and decide to offer you a merit scholarship. And that comes as a surprise, right? You get an offer of admission and you say, oh, and we're going to give you a $5,000 scholarship per year. That means the school wants to reward you for your scholarly efforts. So they see that you worked hard in high school and they want you to come to their university, and they offer you that merit scholarship as a reward. So if you get a merit scholarship, it's an indication. Here's from the University of Massachusetts. A strong applicant will have demonstrated leadership and teamwork, strong letters of recommendation, and from teachers who know them, and a consistently strong academic record. That's what I'm saying in grades 9, 10, 11, 12. You were consistently strong. So a lot of characteristics. And when universities see all this demonstrated on your application, they might decide to give you a merit scholarship. Last year, I had students receive scholarships from these schools in America: Clark, American, Fordham, Babson, and Macalester. Probably nobody's ever heard of it. That student got $20,000 every year for 4 years. So do look into it. It might be something you're interested in. You can go to internationalstudent.com. There's a long list of scholarships, if you can even make it through the list. There are tons of scholarships available from private businesses, donors, organizations, and they ask like specific ethnicities, activities, regions, affiliations, a lot. But it takes so long just to read through the list and try to find one, and then you have to apply. But some students do. You can also check Education USA. There are 5 centers in Indonesia. They're really resourceful. They can really help you a lot in your navigating. So thank you. And that sets you off in your journey.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Miss Carolyn. Yeah, that was mind opener, particularly about top countries that you've mentioned: China, Hong Kong, yeah, and different university systems unique to each country and the qualifications. Yeah. So, all right, now participants, we have now come to the question and answer session. If you have any questions about the explanation, if you want to tell Miss Carolyn your concerns about studying abroad, or if you are in doubt of anything, please drop your questions in the Zoom chat box. If you are on YouTube, you can also drop your questions in the comment box. For Zoom meeting participants, you may choose to turn your microphone and camera on and talk to us. Then upon speaking, please mention your name and your city of residence. Okay, so there's a question from Bu Stephanie, Miss Carolyn, in the chat box. What is the difference between A-level, IB, and AP? Should we attend one of them to qualify to enter into a good university?
Okay, so again, universities all universities are getting applications from schools worldwide, and some schools may offer an A-level curriculum. Other schools might offer an AP curriculum and IB, plus many, many more. So when a student submits an application from a particular high school, it's the duty of the admission official reading that application to become knowledgeable about the school that the student is applying from. And they say, oh, in the past, officials used to travel all over the world. And so like they would come to Jakarta and visit high schools to get to know them and get to know students. I'm sure they've even come to Surabaya. And so they're looking at, did you do A levels? Okay, what 4 subjects did you choose? What grades did you get? And out of those 4, what do you want to study? The same thing, IB, 6 subjects. What scores did you get? What did you do for your extended essay? What did you do for TOK? What did you do for CAS? And then for AP, typically you're doing 5 AP classes per year. And so as far as universities are concerned, they're not looking for one or the other. They're looking for what school did you go to? What curriculum did it offer? What classes did you take? Did you take the most challenging classes? Did you take the easiest classes? And what grades did you get? So they don't have a preference for any one. They just want to know what was available to you and what were your choices and what were your results.
Okay. So there's no exact preference among those 3, right? So everything is the same. It's just a matter of the result or the grades. Is that true, Ms.
Right,
Caroline?
right. What did your school offer and what did you choose to take and what was your level of performance?
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Ashley. Hello, Ashley. Ashley is one of our students, Miss Caroline. Ashley is asking, about studying in the University of Melbourne, and she asked, do you have any advice? Ashley, why don't you talk to us right away? Are you there, Ashley? Would you like to speak to us? Yes, there she is, Miss Caroline. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, Ashley.
Hello.
Hi, Ashley. What's your question?
So I'm planning to study in the University of Melbourne as a psychology student. I was hoping you could give me some advice.
Okay, so applying to Australia, if you need to go look at the University of Melbourne website and look at the psychology major and see, is it what you thought psychology would be at university, and what classes you would take, and what does that qualify you to do. And then after you look at the psychology major at the University of Melbourne, then go to the admission page on the website for the University of Melbourne, and they'll list how to apply. What are the requirements? Australia is, you like click here for the application. Be an online application, you fill it out, you ask your school to submit the transcript, and there you go. But a lot of students have an idea in their minds what is psychology, and when they go look at the major, they go, oh no, that's not what I thought it was going to be. So make sure you do, for whatever major a student is interested in at any school, make sure you do go look at the description of the major, the classes you're going to take, and what the requirements are to get your degree. After that, you decide, yes, this is what I want to do. Then go to the admission page. And schools have gotten really efficient about putting everything on the website that you need to know how to apply. And then some of them even have a chat box. You can chat with a university official, or they say, contact us. They're always available by email to give you the information that you need. They understand. every university in the whole world, they understand it can be complicated for a high school student. And they have staffs available in the admission department to answer any and every question that you have. But start with the website, because the websites are often really comprehensive and give you all the information you need. But then there might be a question that I just don't understand this, or I have extenuating circumstances. Get on the phone and call them. They have admission number there. Just dial the number and somebody will say, hello, University of Melbourne Admissions, how can I help you? And then you tell them what you want. They're really helpful.
Mhm. Okay, thank you, Ms. Carol. The next one is by Devi. Devi, do you want to talk to us right away? Devi, are you there?
Hi. Yes. Should I open my cam?
Yes, please.
Okay. Wait. Oh my God. Sorry. All right. So I don't really have a strong academic background, and well, many students don't have a strong background. So do you have any advices on how we can create a stronger profile that will attract the administration, the university as administration? I'm so sorry.
Okay, so let's start. Let's pare this down. What do you mean by you don't have a strong academic background? What does that mean? I
So
mean,
like,
some students.
I don't go to a lot of competitions. My grades aren't like A or B's. It's more like B's or C's. So it's not that strong.
Okay, so keep in mind, there are thousands and thousands of schools all over the world, and not every student is a straight A student. But you know, whether you're an A student, a B student, a C student, what's common among every student is I want to get a degree, I want to get an education from university. So you had to have heart that you know there is a school for you. You just have to go look at, you know, schools that are going to be a good fit for you based on what you want to study and at what level of competitiveness or rigorousness, right, that you want to go to. So trust me, there is a school for you to get a university education, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, and the next one is from Celine, Miss Caroline. So Celine,
Hi.
hi.
So first things first, I'd like to thank you for the informative session. I really learned a lot and it was really helpful when like considering university and things. So a bit of background about me before I ask the question is that I attended 7th to 9th grade in an international school, while I'm currently studying under the national curriculum for my senior high school. So I'd like to inquire regarding recommendation letters, as I'm interested in attending an American university. So am I able to request such a letter from, say, a teacher who taught me in 9th grade? Or is it required that a teacher who taught me in my senior and high school years write the letter?
Right. You do want to get teachers from like the last 2 years of your high school education, because those are going to be the most rigorous classes, right? What you did in grade 9 is far different from what you're doing now, and you're a different person. You know, I'm amazed when I work with students. I start with them in grade 9 and I carry all the way through with them to grade 12. I'm amazed at how much they matured and developed over those years. Are really, you know, the maturity and the growth and the development is huge. And so where I might start with somebody in grade 9 that is like on the small side and maybe shy, they really blossom and develop by the time they're in grade 11 and 12. And not just physically, but also mentally. And so, yeah, you do want to pick teachers that are this year, or if you're a senior this year, you can pick teachers that you had last year or even this year. You want to pick the teachers from your last 2 years of high school, because they're in a better position to estimate your readiness and your preparedness and your maturity and your level for university work. And they'll give you a more representative recommendation that colleges are going to find of interest. Does that help? But then students say, oh, but I had a 7th grade teacher who loved me to death. I go, yeah, I know, but you're not the same student when you were in 7th grade.
Is it okay if I ask a follow-up question?
If you what? Sorry?
If I ask a follow-up question?
Oh, sure.
All right. Okay. So my main concern when it comes to asking recommendation letters from my current teachers is that they're not particularly fluent in English. So I'm not sure as to what to do when navigating that situation. Should I ask them to write in Indonesian, then like have someone translate it to English, or like have them write in English from the start?
Right. So this comes up a lot. That's a really good question, because a lot of students come up with that. It's like, oh yeah, my math teacher really loves me and I love math, but he can't write very well in English if you're applying to an international university. What should I do? Well, there are quite a few solutions to that. Sometimes, and this happens a lot in international schools, even an English, a math teacher, for example, who is an English native speaker. What they do is they ask the student to complete a questionnaire. So here are the questions with the information I need. The student writes it, gives that to the teacher, and based on what the student submitted, that is what the teacher is going to use for the recommendation. And then the teacher might throw in a few more bits of personal information. So you could supply your teacher with information, a template, let's say, right, of all the strong characteristics and attributes that you think you have as a student for whatever subject that is, and give that to your teacher. Some teachers ask you to go ahead and write the recommendation. Tell me what you think you've been good about. Why do you love this class? Tell me your characteristics. And then that gives the teacher a template to look at. Other teachers will write it in Indonesian, and then they'll ask somebody to translate it into English. So there are ways to get a recommendation. You just have to work with what your individual teacher is comfortable with. And even you could talk to your school counselor and see what the counselor recommends. There are even instances where the principal or the headmaster or the head of school, right? They will often write a recommendation because they know the student and they want to advocate for the student, right? And they'll write it as the school counselor or even as one of the teachers if they knew. But so for the US is the only one that asks for recommendations. So the school in America, they usually want a counselor recommendation and 2 teachers. And the counselor recommendation can often be written by the principal, the headmaster, head of school, or the college counselor. A lot of principals do write them. They're in a position where they can write an overall recommendation for you, and then your teachers. So just work with your teachers. It seems like you're a pretty outgoing person. Ask your teachers, say, I'd really like a recommendation. How should we go about this? And if they don't know, if they're at a loss, I've just given you some options, right?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caroline.
You're welcome.
The next one is from Buhani asking about her daughter. Buhani, would you like to speak directly to us, or would you want me to read your question? Buhani?
Iya, Miss Rica. Minta tolong Miss Rica aja. Saya bahasa Inggrisnya kurang oke. Ini tinggal Jocelyn saya suruh dengar sendiri. Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you, Bu Hani. So, Bu Hani is asking, if my daughter is planning to study design, what curriculum is the most suitable for that? Is it IB
Okay,
or
what-
A level?
Hold on, what kind of design? That can mean many different things, like architecture,
Oh.
interior design, graphic design,
Graphic design.
graphic design. Okay. Okay, most graphic design these days is done digitally on the computer. So number one, you have to have the computer skills, and you have to have a portfolio of your graphic designs that you submit with the application. And then along with that would be the computer science skills. So if you've taken computer science classes in school, that's good. If your school offers computer science classes, a lot of schools even today don't, but there are lots of ways you can learn the computer science skills that you need for graphics. And, go online. Everything's available online. Lots of free education. But as far as your school, if you're applying to American University, they like to see that you've done the 4 core subjects: English, history, math, and science for all 4 years, and then a foreign language, and then your elective. So in this case, for graphic design, you would want to do definitely the English to show your English proficiency skills. The math is always important. Science is always important. But then specifically for graphic design, you want to show art and computer science. And if your school doesn't offer art classes or computer science, well, that's easy to do on your own time. That's your passion. So you've learned the computer skills somehow through internet. You've learned how to do graphic design. You produce them, so then you have a portfolio.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Carol. So this will be our last question from Jocelyn. Jocelyn, are you there?
Hi.
Yeah, Jocelyn, your question is?
Excuse me, miss, but do you have any tips on what to take for a game design major?
Game design?
Game design.
Yeah, there are a lot of universities that offer degrees in game design. That's a huge industry and growing by the day. And it's a really, if you get a popular game, you make a lot of money doing that. It's very rewarding for the amount of money you can make. So game design, again, you have to have, I get students that they just like making the illustrations or they like writing the storyline. But then I get some students where they do the design, they make up the story, and they do the program to run it. So it depends on what aspect of that you're interested in. Any one of those in particular, or all 3 combined. So like, let's say for instance, go ahead.
Oh no, please continue.
So let's say I'm really good at coming up with a story for a game, a video game, right? But I don't know how to program it. Well, then I would team up with a programmer. I would give him the story, or her, to write the program. And then I would have to go find a graphic designer to do all the graphics. So you can do it all on your own, or you can work with a whole team. If you invent your own game and then it's bought by a company, or if you work for a video game company, you might work in only one capacity, but work as a team to produce a video game. So it depends. Are you trying to write your own game and do all the components necessary? Or are you going to have your own story, but you're going to find other people to team up with you to produce a game that's going to be sold? Or do you want to go to work for a video game company and work in one capacity? You can look online, best schools for video games. You'll see there are a lot. It's popular.
Okay. Thank you, miss.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you. And Miss Caroline, sadly, that was the last question for this evening. Actually, there are some more students and parents who would like to ask questions. For those questions, you can write it on the WhatsApp group that we have, the virtual talk show. Then we're going to email Miss Caroline and we're going back to you again. And before we end, Miss Caroline, would you please give us a wrap up, a closing statement, a big picture maybe of this evening session?
Right. So when you're ready to go to university, and I applaud all of you for coming to this presentation tonight, because that indicates that you are ready for the next step of your education in university. And it can be really confusing. But remember, there are lots and lots of resources. Your own school, your own teachers, people like Education USA, and all the websites. You can get a lot of information online to answer all the questions that you need. And step by step, there is a lot, but take it step by step and you will eventually, you're starting your journey and you will eventually land at the school where is a good fit and you'll get your degree. And all the best to you. I mean, I applaud all of you for having the aspiration to get higher education. With the more education you have, I always say, the more you can do. And best of luck to everyone. I can't wish you well enough.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Miss Caroline. And Meta School has prepared something special for you. Miss Monica, would you please share the slide? Okay, so we're presenting this e-certificate to you. With this, we would like to send you our highest appreciation for sharing valuable information. It's been really insightful and motivational.
Thank you so much. It's
Thank
really been a pleasure
you.
talking to everybody. Yeah, I really love helping students get an education. I really appreciate this opportunity to talk to you tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Caroline. And the next one is the photo session. So, Ms. Caroline, we're going to take pictures with the participants. So, participants, if you want your picture to be in the photos, have your camera on. Okay. It's one slide only. Okay, have your camera on. And put on your best smile. Okay, are we ready? Okay, I'm going to count in 3, 2, 1. Okay, is that it, Miss Monica? Okay, thank you very much. And down there in the chat box, Miss Monica will post a link directing you to an evaluation form. We'd be delighted if you're willing to tell us what you think about this virtual talk show. That will take you only 1 or 2 minutes at most, so please hit that link and let us hear from you. Thank you, everyone. There's a saying says that a great education is the passport to fresh opportunities, new challenges, life-changing experiences to the better future. For tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today. This evening, we've learned a lot from Miss Caroline on how to make our way to our dream university. What we have to do now is to take that first step, no matter how small, as long as it's heading there. For the journey of 1,000 miles, begin with one step. Thank you very much again to Miss Caroline. Thank you all for the good evening. That is the end of our virtual talk show. See you again on the next ones hosted by Meta School. You may now leave the meeting and don't forget to hit that button for the evaluation form. Stay healthy and happy, everyone. Meta School, educating young hearts and minds. Bye.
Bye.
Thank
Have a
you,
good
Miss
evening,
Caroline.
everyone. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Thank you,
Thank
Caroline.
you.
Thank you.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you, Miss Richa, Miss Caroline.
Thank you, Miss
Miss
Thank
Richa.
you for the good
Caroline.
evening.
Thank you.
You.
Ini saya belum